Our first review of the day is going to be for Alien Earth. Alien Earth is the Alien TV series there set in the Alien universe. This one is created by Noah Hawley. In 2120, I think you said that right. That's the Earth year that it was.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I was
you
guessing, but I got it right.
got it right there. 2120. So this series is set here before the events. It's a prequel series before the events of the first Alien, set on Earth year 2120. Like I said, this is created by Noah Hawley. People might know Noah Hawley. He was the showrunner for such shows as Legion, which was the X-Men show there, which I really much loved a lot. He also did
Still the
Fargo,
best X-Men adaptation, I think.
one of the best live action X-Men adaptations I think they've ever done. Love it. Nobody's ever checked out Legion. Highly recommended. Very great show. He also did Fargo. I watched the first couple seasons of Fargo. I did not see the rest of the other seasons, but I did love the first two seasons of the show.
I definitely think the first one is the strongest, but I've found something interesting and worthwhile in all of the rest of them.
Yeah. So what is this series about? So it kind of takes you to kind of some different perspectives of what's going on here in this show. One perspective you have is you have these synthetics or synths, I guess is what they're called, where they're the body, they have these android bodies, but then the minds that are inside the bodies are child's minds. It was like this. You have this
I think
genius
those are the ones they're referring to as hybrids.
hybrids. Okay, so those are hybrids. Okay. And synthetics are just the regular android that have the
Yeah,
white
those are the
blood.
ones that we've seen like since Ash in the first film.
Okay, gotcha. So you have the hybrids there. Um, they're where like you said, they're the mix of you have the android body, but you have the mind of a human, the consciousness of a human, and then the consciousness of that human is a child. These are children there that were dying. They had some type of terminal illness, and then that you had this genius boy, inventor, creator there who runs a company, very much like Wayland Yutani. And then the series, the first premiere episode, which is what we're only going to be discussing here, they discuss like how the world is basically ran by four corporations, one of them being Wayland Yutani, and then the other one is this new emerging one called Prodigy. There's this other one which I don't think. I mean, I'm not as familiar with the lore as Alien. I don't think that's ever been introduced before. Prodigy.
As far as I'm aware, it's new, and I'm pretty familiar with at least everything that's ever been done in like a movie.
Okay. And then Samuel Bleakin is the one who's the CEO of the company. He's the youngest trillionaire ever, they say in this. So he runs this corporation there that is trying to rival Wayland Yutani. He's the one that made these android bodies. He's the one that put a lot of these dying kids with terminal illnesses inside these hybrid bodies there. Then you also have it where you have a crew of a ship there, very familiar that people will know that of Alien there. Doozle Dumbler says Timothy Olyphant playing a synthetic. Yes, he is. He's playing a android there. The way Timothy
Yep.
Olyphant kind of plays him is very similar to maybe like how Michael Fassbender played the synthetic in Prometheus. I would
Sure.
say. Um,
What's interesting there too is Ridley Scott for a long time had this idea in his head that he would eventually make Blade Runner and Alien kind of this one connected universe. And I'm glad that that's never happened because I just don't know that it would mesh all that well. But this show is a little bit of have your cake and eat it too, where I feel like the show is kind of exploring the concepts that you would get by connecting those universes, just without actually literally connecting them.
mm, yeah. So you do have that. So yes, he is playing a synthetic. So you have hybrids, synths, and cyborgs. Cyborgs are cybernetically enhanced human beings. And then is that what the black guy is that what he's supposed to be? Like a
Yeah, I
cyborg?
believe he's a person. He's just had cybernetic enhancements in his body,
Okay,
which
because I
is
think
actually a really cool acting choice, I think, in that episode because he's got this very cold behavior, which is very reminiscent of the androids and the synths, right, in the original film. But I love that it's a human being with human emotions, right, a full range of emotions that is behaving this way and is so dedicated to the company. I love the idea of like, well, yeah, you've got these androids that are capable of behaving like this, but a human being is just as capable of being He's kind of a dirtbag in the same way.
And that's this actor right here, I believe. That's he plays Morrow, is it? Who's on the USS Magnet? I think it's called USS Magnet, I believe. The spaceship that they're on, because there's always a crew. There's always a
Yep.
crew that gets fucked up by some aliens. Uh,
But I will say though, I love how it's handled here because I feel like it's just cut up. It's just this cut up kind of small scale recreation of that original film because it's so not the story that the show overall is trying to tell. It's just using it as setup to tell the story it's trying to tell. So I think that's really smart to have this sort of recreation, which in a lot of other entries in this franchise, I think is what the whole story's been. But using it just to kind of kickstart something new, I think that's actually pretty clever.
yeah, because you only see bits and pieces of it. Like pretty much the aftermath is what you see. Just
Yeah,
the
it's like skipping to the third act.
Yeah, it's like you already know what happens. Like, okay, this crew, okay, you already know. Let's get to the point of it. But yeah, he's a cyborg who has like cybernetic parts there, and it kind of the way he kind of uses it almost similar to like the T-1000, like how it kind of
Oh
morphs and
yeah,
everything like that. So he's able to kind of do that with his arm. It seems like mostly like there. Um, and you also have the other beings, the sense, with the artificially intelligent beings there. So the sense, who represents that? That you got just
that's I'd say that is a I'm sorry, we
like
just
Timothy
said his name.
Oliphant and
Yeah,
yeah,
Timothy Oliphant is he's a synth, which is funny because like I was just saying, there was always this kind of like desire to connect Blade Runner, and then this is thematically doing some similar material. I really feel like Timothy Oliphant, the way his hair is done and makeup and stuff, he looks a lot like Rutger Hauer in Blade Runner to me.
mm, yeah, I could kind of see that a little bit. Yeah, very much like that kind of look. And Timothy Oliphant, and it's a little bit of a different role than I usually would I see from Timothy Oliphant.
He's finally not a sheriff.
Yeah, he's not a sheriff in this. Yeah, he's not a swaggering type cowboy in it. So he's playing that. So it's a much kind of different role than what I've typically seen him play before. But Timothy Olyphant's a very good actor. Very good actor. I like him quite a bit
He's got
there.
one of my favorite scenes in this first episode.
Yeah, I'll be eager to hear what that scene is there in a bit. But this is him right here. So yeah. He looks worried. Damn, every photo, damn, he looking worried. Like I've never seen a synthetic look this worried before. But yeah, so he's playing that. So the really the kind of here with Alien Earth, it seems like we're just going to be focused on Earth. It seems like with the ship crash landing, a xenomorph was on the ship. We don't see the xenomorph because we're just talking about the premiere episode. We don't know with the second episode, but the xenomorph and all that is kind of loose on Earth. Seems like that was also the setup of what they were trying to do with what Alien 3 or Alien 4. They tried to do that setup that kind of got scrapped.
They've tried to do this a couple different times. I do believe that Alien 3 originally planned to do something on Earth, and then that got changed to like the prison colony planet. And then Alien Resurrection ends with them basically arriving on Earth, after the weird baby thing gets sucked out the window. Um, but then of course there's never like a direct sequel to that. Yeah, I mean, it seems like an idea that's been floated around or attempted to be done so many times, but it's cool to finally get it. I mean, I think the show, one of the things that does a great job right off the bat is just giving you like the kind of 70s sci-fi, clunky sci-fi aesthetic of the original movie, but then creating new environments that are a further sort of exploration of that design and still feeling very consistent with that look. There's nothing here like Prometheus, right? It's kind of that Star Wars prequel thing where it's too glossy, it's too clean, it feels too advanced for it to be like consistent with the original movies. This, I think, does a much better job at feeling like, yeah, maybe the effects are newer with some of the CG and stuff, but it feels consistent visually with the world. And of course, the original film, you're only getting the inside of a single spaceship, so you don't know too much about that, the design of the whole world. But I think this does a good job of feeling like a natural extension of all of that.
Um, Dudes with Dumb says it's a little confusing that there's a retro vibe when the year is 2050. Well, 2120 is the year, and then so this is like third in the timeline. So the first one was Prometheus, which was 2093. Then it was
Right.
Covenant, which was 2104. And then now it's this one where Alien Earth, where it's 2120. And then Alien was the year 2122. So this is 2 years it's 2 years before the first Alien film.
I just think of it like it's just an alternate history. It's just it has to be. It's to have that sort of feel to it. I just I just assume that there's a wildly different set of historical events that lead up to this future.
Yeah. Which is interesting since I mean, if the Xenomorph is going to be released on Earth, it seems like how they're going to handle that. It'd be interesting that how do well. I guess you could say that because how long were they on their space mission for? The people in Alien, they were on it for like 2 years or something, right? They were
Yeah,
already
it might have even been longer than that, to be honest, but it was quite some time.
yeah, so they were already gone from Earth probably when these events were already happening there. So I don't think it really conflicts there too much with the events and what's happening with the first Alien film. But I'll get your thoughts on this. What do you think about this premiere episode of Alien Earth here?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think the most unexpected thing, but that I do like is in a lot of ways, and I mean, they use this imagery, and I've heard some people even say it feels like maybe like it's a metaphor or analogy, and they're driving it home like too hard. Now, and if it's just meant to be an analogy, I agree with that, but I actually don't think the whole Peter Pan Lost Boys thing is as much of an analogy as it is that this is just a straight up sci-fi reinterpretation or retelling of the Peter Pan story. Even the CEO character you mentioned before, I think he's very clearly Peter Pan. To be honest, he also creeps me out because he looks like Neil Gaiman, and we all know how that went down. Um, but I feel like, again, this is only based on the first episode, so who knows in which ways it diverts and takes different directions. But I really feel like a lot of the plot beats here is very much like we are doing a kind of sci-fi retelling of Peter Pan. I think that's an interesting idea. I mean, I feel like I've said for a very long time with this franchise, you keep making movies that are just about people getting killed by an alien on a ship. We need to do something different. And so, kind of harkening back to, say, an older period of uh, human history or human fables and storytelling, and just trying to just tell a different archetype of story. Now we'll see where it goes and how they build on it, but to start with, just a different archetype, I think, is fundamentally important because we've run around in circles with the same thing so many times. Like this feels different. This feels new. Even though, yeah, Peter Pan's a story that exists already, it's still a spin on it.
Mm, yeah. And yes, that is the trillionaire guy that
I
owns.
don't think he's a synthetic, at least so far. I don't think we have any reason to think that. It's possible he might. There could be some reveal down the line, but so far he seems like a very very creepy person. But
Yeah. You got that, which I guess a lot of these, yeah, rich people in this universe are. Is the Triller guy is synthetic? So yeah, we don't know yet. I don't know. We don't know that information quite yet there. But yeah, he's the one that. Which is this the first time it's ever been introduced in the Alien franchise? Like the whole consciousness going into an android body.
yeah, as far as I'm aware, I mean, I get there's a lot of books and comic books and like kind of extended lore that you could get into with the series. It's possible something like that has come up somewhere in that stuff before. Not anything that I'm personally familiar with. I do think this is a new idea, and that's the one bit of technology that I could maybe see someone having like a maybe a consistency timeline issue with is that like that does seem like a whole other level of advanced compared to say the synthetic in Ash in the original film. So there's maybe a question of consistency there, but again, I also feel like we only saw like just one ship, or two ships with the second movie. Never having seen Earth before, I feel like there's a lot of room to kind of go in and be like, all right, here's all this stuff that, yeah, you haven't seen it before, but it's because we haven't explored a big open world before either. So I can
Mm,
kind of see two angles on that.
mm. Yeah. So it opens up for more expansion, like you said. Like it's not just another story about people on the ship and they're trapped on the ship, and then the aliens come and get them. It's
It's not the only alien either. That's another big thing.
Yeah, so that's also kind of interesting there. Yeah, so you kind of got these different perspectives there with this, like I said, I mentioned with these kind of different characters. Seems like so one of the main characters is Wendy, who's the child that got put into an adult body there. And then also it seems like so it's her, she's one of the protagonists, along with Moro, who's another protagonist. And then maybe I guess you could say that the CEO is maybe the third one, maybe. I
I
guess.
feel like he's, and again, it could totally go a different direction than I'm expecting, but I feel like he's going to be at least one of the villains of the show.
Mm,
I'm not even fully sure that I trust that uh, these kids' minds have fully made the trip into these bodies. Now, it's possible that that's just kind of upfront the truth, but I wouldn't be shocked if later in the show it kind of comes to light that they're more like copies than like a genuine transfer. And because again, these corporations, they're up to something. They're not just doing this to help these kids. These kids are probably at the very least legally considered property now, if not outright having been lied to about whether how this process works. I feel like there's going to be more to it.
yeah. And you learn that, I mean, them in these bodies, I mean, they're essentially they have all the benefits and advantages of being an android. They're strong, they're fast, they got great reflexes, everything there associated with that. They don't age, so that's the reason why they're in an adult body instead of just like why not put them in another kid body? Because well, synthetic bodies don't age, so why not just already have it where they're in a adult body already? But then if you put kids' minds in an adult body, well, we already saw big, we saw that, you know what I mean? That caused a lot of problems there.
Big meets Terminator. That's a movie.
Yeah. So that's kind of that creates a lot of problems there. So yeah,
They do kind of get into how they have like an actual like these they're bioorganic, so they still have like some organic like kind of built elements into them, and they are feeding like the chemicals that go through someone's brain as they go through puberty. So they it seems like they're trying to still kind of allow them to mentally mature over like a realistic amount of time. Obviously, only at the beginning. Who knows how much time the show's going to cover if we're going to see that process play out. But it's another interesting just science fiction, just the process of the actual fictional science actually being discussed and talked about here. Whereas I think Alien in general has always been it's always been a sci-fi franchise, but I don't think they've ever been as interested in kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of how like the fictional science works, how the process works of these ideas. Usually it's a monster movie, right? So you don't need to get that technical about it. But here I think they're taking a lot of care and detail to be like, no, this is how these bodies function. This is how the chemicals are moving in them. This is how the thought process works. It seems like that's where I think you're getting a lot of these kind of Blade Runner elements in, even though it's not literally connecting, because they're taking a lot of time. I mean, the episode's a little slow burn, honestly. And I like that. I think it's good that it's slow burn because then you get to really explore these ideas.
mm, yeah. I'm interested to see kind of where it goes and where it expands. The plot threads, like we said, we only see the first episode right now. Is that Wendy? So she has a brother, or she, her other self had a brother. Marcy was the little girl's name, and then she had a brother. The brother was told that she died, so he doesn't know that she's sort of still alive there. And he's a medic for this tactical unit that gets deployed when the space vessel crashes, so that she's like, okay, this is a chance for me to go meet my brother, and so I'm gonna deploy these other people that are also these hybrids there to help, and the hybrids are led by Timothy Olyphant's character, who's the synth. Um, and it seems like you said, they're basically just property. So it seems like all they do is just hang around in the compound of whatever place that the trillionaire lives in. So they don't really do anything really much. Probably just get tests ran on them, basically. But yeah, so you see her. So see how that kind of turns out. But I mean, they do a really great job at capturing the look of it, like that 70s kind of like even when the first kind of episode that we see like the spaceship and you see the technology of it, it's pretty much spot on to the way it looked. I think in Alien. What you think
It
about
looks like they drudged up the same set.
pretty much. I mean, yeah, the sound and everything, the buttons, everything like that. They do a really great job with that. So it's the most exciting thing for you this series is just them kind of exploring something seems like different. there than what we've seen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing so far. Again, just off the one episode, it's just there's different ideas here. There's it's not the same thing we've seen every other time. It is something new. And I think even within this first episode, they still have, as I said, it was slow burn, but even here, I think they have a good even payoff scene near the end, and it's my favorite scene I mentioned earlier. But it's when Wendy, and I'm forgetting Timothy Oliphant's character's name, the actual name of the synth he's playing, but
He
they're
is
on their way to go
Krish.
and help. What was it?
Krish.
Krish. Okay. So when they're sitting there on the ship and they're talking, and she says, "Oh, he's not going to die. I'm gonna make sure." And he gives this I think great speech just about which again, the way he spoke and the type of dialogue he was delivering also kind of made me think of Rutger Hauer in Blade Runner. But him just talking about how much human death that he has had to watch, and he, like, even though he's a synth, there is kind of some maybe light emotion, maybe sort of bubbling up in what he's saying. It seems like there's a frustration in it, which I think is interesting because he's kind of claiming to not feel anything, and we're told these things don't really have feelings, but yet there seems like there's a level of frustration he's expressing when he's talking. And I think that's a really interesting, like, small character beat. And yeah, that whole sequence is very close to the end of the episode, but I really, really loved that. And it reminded me of a scene that you might see in, yeah, something like a Blade Runner.
Yeah. Um, and then Doozle Dumbass as the Trillionaire reminds me of the Fassbender character in Covenant, who wanted to create a human slash versus alien hybrid. Uh, there. And you have Moro, who, like you said, who's working on the behalf of Wayland Yutani and his mission. And he had a mission there to, of
Yep.
course, their thing is always wanting to recover the Xenomorph and study the Xenomorph, and that always goes horribly wrong there. I don't really get too much with the vibes of the Trillionaire Fassbender there. I mean, I believe he's kind of up to something, and maybe something's off about him just because he's a trillionaire. But
Right.
uh,
Like I said, I'm getting Neil Gaiman vibes off him, which that might be worse.
yeah, and this actor Samuel Blake, people might know he was in that episode of Black Mirror, that episode where his mom was a serial killer and he
Mm.
found out there. He was also in Peaky Blinders. Everybody seen that? He's also
He's got the sort of Jesse Eisenberg in The Social Network hair.
yeah, very moppish kind of hair there. Uh, just need to get to episode 2. Yeah, we'll get to episode 2 there. I think. How do you want to do it? You want to review halfway through as well, like when it's 4 episodes, and then
Um,
review when it's
Yeah,
done,
we
or
could. I mean, they're long episodes. So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot to probably get into on an episode by episode basis. And because it's Noah Hawley, I trust that he's going to pack this with a lot. I feel like none of these are going to feel like wasted at time. So I'd really be up for whatever format you want. We could do it one at a time. We could do it half and half. Really anything.
yeah, we'll do a midway review, and then after it's all done, we'll do a conclusion of it with that. But yeah, you see like this from just this scene right here. So yeah, it does look like this was ripped it straight from the Alien set right there. That looks really
The
good.
lighting is incredible.
Yeah, that looks really awesome there. So that was kind of fantastic. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what this kind of series is gonna do and develop into. I heard, I think was it who just said that it kind of had some references to aliens in it. Was it Doozle Dumble who said it had reference to aliens in it? I think it was
I
him.
think so. Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna go into member berries
I hope
sometime.
not, because I feel like the first episode avoided it pretty well. Like, I mean, there is that the bit of recreation of the original film, but I also feel like it's used cleverly in just a setup sort of way. So I hope we don't get too into that. I mean, you can drop a few, and I mean, it's the thing I always say is, like, fan service is not always bad if you can tell a great story and then you could slip a little fan service in there. It can work. It's just, I think, more often than not with this franchise, their new ideas and their main stories have been entirely fan service or been so reliant on it that it can't stand apart. So this could do it, and not, it could still work for me. I would my instinct immediately is to say let's not go near fan service, but like I said, there's always going to be an example you could point to of fan service having been done the right way. So I'm not going to write it off entirely for that, but it does make me just slightly nervous to hear that.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'll see when I watch the first episode. But these are full, like the first episode was a full 55 minutes there, so it was almost a full like hour long episode there of this. So that was kind of good. You get a good bulk of time there. It doesn't try to, 8 episodes. Can they wrap everything up in good 8 episode time? We'll see with that when it kind of all wraps up there.
Have
Um,
we heard anything about them doing more than one season for this, or is it seem like it's a mini series, like for sure?
I know I haven't heard anything other past this first season there. Right? I think it's doing really well though. I think streaming wise, I think it broke a couple of records there for Hulu.
Okay.
I'll check out that in a minute here. But what will be your kind of final thoughts there for Alien Earth?
Yeah, I mean, like this is definitely the most excited I've been about this franchise in a very long time. I think this, even just based on one episode, it's more interesting than anything that has happened in this series since what, 1982. I think it's a really good start. I can't wait to see where it goes. I think there's great plot setup. I think there's great character work. I think there's great philosophical discussion. It really feels like it has higher ambition as a science fiction story. I love that it's willing to try and go there and experiment and mess with some new ideas. Um, yeah, I don't have really much in the way of complaints. I'll give it like a low peak, even just because I don't know where it's going to go. Is it going to, how much of the setup is it going to pay off? But yeah, I don't really have a lot of complaints to think of. And then the last thing I'll say too is finally there's these different species of creature as well. So as far as the horror goes and the promise of horror, you actually for the first time don't in a long time you don't know exactly what these things are going to do. I think that's the really cool thing here with the horror part is just not being like, okay, yep, he's going to pop out of his chest. They're going to incubate and pop out, and you've seen it so many times. So introducing other creatures, I think, is also like a fundamental must of this franchise if you're going to continue to do new stories. You can't just rely on the same thing anymore. The Xenomorph is practically a breakfast morning cereal mascot at this point. So, I just you got to add some other stuff, and you only get a little bit in the first episode, but those vampire slug things I loved the effect on those, and it was gross. And it was again, you don't know, and just not knowing, I think, is such a fundamental part of cosmic horror that yeah, it was. I'm so happy they made that choice.
Thank you for the rate. Thank you so much, Look It Up podcast.
Hey,
What were
what's
you,
up,
what were
Lucky
you
Dog?
playing there, man? You get a cute
We were trying
little
to figure it out, but we didn't know.
face hugger plushie there. You can get one of these.
I mean, look at this. I got a face hugger on the shelf behind me. It's got a smiley face on it.
Yeah,
Come on,
I think that's what
that's not
this is right
scary.
here.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's not scary. Like it had it anymore. You gotta switch it up. Do some different stuff.
Uh, yeah. So Dudes of Dumb. I think it's limited to 8 episodes there. So we'll see. And then in terms of the success of this, critically, both critically and fan response has been really good with this. It's gotten high marks there. It says Hulu's latest sci-fi thriller, this from Collider, which has earned an impressive rating on Rotten Tomatoes, is taking over streaming charts. The streamer premiered the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth this week, and show has soared to the top of both Hulu in America and Disney Plus globally in international territories. Alien Earth is the most popular project in more than 25 countries, and it doesn't fall
Wow.
any lower than 4 in any country where it's premiered. So
Hmm.
very impressive there with Alien Earth. So people still care about Alien there with this.
Yeah,
Uh,
despite all the disappointments, people keep coming back. But hey, at least it seems like it's worth it this time.
yeah, and I know that they're doing a sequel to Romulus. I think they do have that planned. Uh,
Right. I'm less excited about that one.
Yeah, because Romulus did really well. On an $80 million budget, it made
Yeah.
350.9, so it was successful financially. So it did do well. So I think they are coming back for that. Yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot. Alien Earth, seeing the premiere of this, Noah Hawley hasn't missed for me yet. With I love Fargo, loved Legion a lot. And I think that I'm excited to see where the direction this show goes, having these kind of different perspectives, and then within the show of these hybrids and synths and cyborgs, there. I think that's a kind of interesting concept with things. I think that the hybrids with the body of with the body of adults with the minds of children, that's gonna explode any minute. You know that they're gonna do something crazy there with that. So I can't wait to see. I think that has great potential there. And like I said, just something different for Alien. I mean, different environment, different kind of setting on Earth. That's something that we have not seen in a live action adaptation of Alien there before. So that's also good. I don't know if it'll reference also potentially like anything within Predator or anything like that. I don't. I know they're trying to do that. Uh,
That'll be interesting because the Predator movie coming out, obviously, it's like a Weyland-Yutani android is like the second main character of that film, and it seems like they're kind of bridging these franchises a little closer together for the first time in a while. Some people might worry at the idea of that, but I mean, I will say that back before they ever made like an AVP movie, there were books and comics and video games that did that concept actually really well. And there's like interesting stories that wrapped the predator into the alien world. And so it can be done. And it's possible to do it really well. And I think there's a chance we might be headed towards like a genuinely great Alien versus Predator in the near future.
mm, yes, I don't know if they are going to maybe reference it there. And then I
We
mean,
have five species, and in the first episode, we only know what two of them are on the ship. So it's possible one of those other ones. Who knows? One of those cages was really big.
mm,
Yeah.
maybe so. We'll see there. And I don't know all the like if they did a lot of Easter eggs references in the premiere, maybe to something else. Maybe say, oh, that background was in the comic book of Alien issue number 62. Is like, I don't know all that shit. So maybe if you saw that, that's great. I didn't see all those things, but yeah, this was a strong premiere. I'm interested to see the rest of the series. Like I said, we're going to do a halfway mid-season review of it, and then when it's all said and done, we'll do a final season review of it for this. But again, pretty great showing from Noah Hawley there with Alien Earth. Can't wait to see what the rest of this turns out to be. Hopefully, it doesn't turn into member berries. Hopefully, it's not that. But I think
Yeah,
Noah Hawley is better for that. I think
I think so. I think so too.
yeah. So,
I
um,
mean, all of his projects have been based on something or adaptations of something or kind of revivals of something. And he's yet to fall into that trap with any of those other properties. So, and hey, Ridley Scott, we know Ridley Scott was basically not even involved in the show. So that's a great sign too.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, him coming back to Alien didn't really help it.
No, he made like the worst one when he came back.
Yeah. Do you so you like you hate Prometheus more than you hate Romulus?
Um, it's tough. I feel like the characters in Prometheus are stupider, but the characters in Romulus are just more generic and just kind of bland. Um, I like Michael Fassbender's David character, so like I guess that even though they don't actually do that much with him in Prometheus and he's kind of wasted, I feel like even just that concept is still a better character than any of the characters in Romulus. I don't know. They're neck and neck though. Those two movies, they're very neck and neck. I really don't like either of them.
Mm. Uh, so I think the worst one for me of the newer ones is probably Covenant. I think I hate Covenant the most.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. So peak for you for the premiere. So you really like it.